podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own referral program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, Jameela Ghann, who is the marketing manager at Fera.ai, which is an online platform that helps businesses manage, show, and grow customer reviews, photos, and videos with ease. Welcome to the podcast, Jameela.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no problem. I am excited to talk to you as well, because today we're going to be talking about a subject we haven't talked a lot about before on the podcast, which is reviews and product reviews, and coming up with a clear product review strategy for e-commerce business. Because as many of us know, all of our listeners know these days, most customers these days, when you're going online buying anything, I think one of the first things that a lot of people look at is the review, the product review. What are the customers saying? You know, how many reviews are there? So it's a big deal. It's definitely a big deal.
It's a really big deal.
Yeah, for sure. But before we dive deep and dig into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and specifically how you did get into what you're doing today?
Okay, yeah. So my name is Jameela, and I got into marketing. I am running actually my own jewelry business, my own e-commerce business. And I started doing some marketing consulting. So I did some marketing consulting for Fera, and they're like, "Oh, we really like you. Do you want a job?" And I was like, "Okay, sounds good."
Great.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into Fera. And then the reason that I got into marketing and consulting was because I found a lot of makers in my city, which is in Calgary. They didn't do a very good job of promoting their business or making money online. So I wanted to try to help other, particularly female-owned businesses, just make more money so that they can have more economic freedom. So that's kind of how I started in marketing and marketing consulting. So that's how I got here.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So I take it you do a good job of what you do, and then Fera, they were utilizing you said as a consultant, and then decided to bring you on their team actually as a marketing manager. Okay, that's awesome, good stuff. Well, you know, as you've experienced just, you know, being in the field there, like you said, and you know, dealing with businesses in Calgary, it's not dissimilar to anywhere, you know, in the world where so many small businesses struggle with, you know, with marketing in general, you know, getting themselves out there, attracting customers, and, you know, just managing everything, not only the marketing, but just managing the whole business. So there's definitely you know, a need for highlighting things like this. And so with product reviews, how actually does a business, if a business is looking to get product reviews, get customer reviews for their specific products, where do they even begin? Let's say they don't know the first thing about it. Where do they begin with it?
Okay, so I mean, this really depends on what stage you are in your business. So of course, for Fera, we get a lot of new stores coming online. And for new stores, we recommend that people reach out to their first customers, and they reach out personally to their first customers. So if you've only had like 10 or 20 or something sales, then it's best for you to reach out personally to your customers, because the majority of people will leave a review when they're asked. And the problem with most stores, even large stores, is that they never ask for a review. They just assume people are going to like come back and leave a review on their site, which like literally never happens unless they're really mad at you or you went like above and beyond, right? So like for everybody who's in between, you kind of want to be asking them for reviews. So if you're a small store, then ask personally for reviews. But if you're a large store, then you can start to set up like ongoing campaigns, automatic campaigns that ask people for reviews. So that's kind of if you've already had sales where you start. But then there's like another part to this, which we can go into a little bit later, is like creating an experience where people want to leave you a review. So you don't want to be asking for reviews if you know that like your packaging sucks or like your customer service is trash. So you want to make sure that you're giving people an experience that's worth reviewing. So starting with a good product, starting with good customer service, starting with good packaging, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where you would start.
Yeah, very good points there. And like you said, you got to make sure you're starting off with, like you said, a good product, good customer service, good packaging, all of that. Because if not, you could, of course, just jump into it and just try to ask everybody for reviews. But if you don't have everything together, you could be actually opening up a whole can of worms. Definitely, because you don't want negative reviews, and depending on the platforms that you use, and we can get a little bit more into that. Most of the third-party platforms, pride themselves on, making sure that, they show authentic reviews. And, it's not with those third-party platforms, you can't just go in there and delete reviews. They don't allow you to do that. If you want to try to overcome a negative review on a lot of those third-party platforms, you can, of course, comment back to the customer. I know some of them will allow you to communicate with the customer to get them to see, if they agree, one-on-one with the company to either remove the review or change it, they can do that. But I know some of them don't even allow that. So it can be a tricky thing. If you don't have everything together, you could be opening yourself up to, a lot of negative feedback and reviews.
And that's why you always want to always start building relationships with your customers early on in the process, and making sure that you're an authentic brand that cares about their customers, because then you're less likely to get negative reviews. And even if you do get negative reviews, then like you said, you can communicate with your customers, and you can say, okay, well, what can I do to make it better? Is there something that I can do to help you change the review or give you a 5-star experience? So it's always about having that really good relationship with your customer first and foremost.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Now that we've established, there's definitely something that a business should do, especially if they're doing the right things, or at least they're trying to do all the right things across all of their channels, all of the methods or points of communication that they have with their customer. They feel that they're doing a pretty good job. What is there a particular methodology for getting these reviews? Of course, you said the main thing is you got to ask, but with that, how do you ask? Is it via email, or is there a certain systematic approach to getting these?
Yeah, so the majority of review requests are going to be through email. And one of the things that you want to make sure that you do in your email is, so all of this stuff you can do within Fera, but of course there are other platforms that you can use. But one of the things that you want to do first is make sure that you're sending your email at the right time. So if you have a reviews app or you have a reviews platform, you can say, okay, I know that my customers get their products 10 days after I ship it out or something like that. So then you ask for a review depending on the product on the 11th or the 12th day, or when it's delivered, because you want to make your timing right so that your customer can actually enjoy their product, or they can leave an unboxing review. So some things that may be useful for sending right away is something like makeup, right? Because people open their makeup, they want to take a picture, they want to show it on Instagram. They want people to be jealous of their purchases for these lifestyle products. Right. So you want to set the timing right for that. But then something else, let's say you're selling those things that help your plants grow. Maybe you're not going to send a review. You're not going to send an email review request until 20 days after they've gotten it. So they have time to figure it out. So email. So first of all, sending your email at the right time. The second thing is making sure that your email is personalized. Instead of just being hey, how is that one product that you bought? Whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Can you review it? You want to say, hi, your customer's name. And then you want to say, oh, I noticed that you bought such and such product. Can you let us know how you feel about it? And then you insert the product name, you insert their name. You say, I know you bought it 12 days ago. It's making it seem like it's actually from you. Right. So that's the next important thing, personalization. And then the other thing that you want to include in your emails, and you can also do this in text message, but most of it, again, is done through email. And you want to say, okay, I have this incentive that I can give you. So and again, it depends on your product. If you're selling paint, maybe you want to do cash back because like people don't usually buy paint all of that much for a year. So you can say, hey, here's like $10 cash back. If you take a picture of your paint in your new room, and you want to be specific in your email. You don't want to be vague. You want to say, do this and get this, because customers, nobody wants to think.
Right.
So yeah, or you can do a discount. Like if you do, you know, vitamins or something, you can say get 15% off your next purchase, and then always sign your name. And yeah, that's basically it. And then and you want to make it easy, of course, for people to leave their reviews. So like having one click in the email is good. Making sure it's mobile friendly is really important, especially if you're asking people to take photos. So that's really, really important, because those are very, very powerful forms of reviews. So that's kind of like what you would do for your email. Yeah, that's the step by step.
Gotcha. That sounds great. Well, thank you for sharing that. One of the things though that did stick out from what you said is I guess it's very important, the timing of it. I think that may be almost one of the most important things, the timing of it, because you don't want to send it too early. You know, like you said, if you know the customer is not going to get the product until 10 days after they've purchased it, you know, so since it's sending it before that, because like, all right, you know, they're going to look at it and be like, all right, I need to see the product. Why are you asking me for a review? It's going to go into their trash. And so definitely makes sense. And then you also have to allow enough time that they'll be able to use the product. And, you know, depending on the niche you're in, the type of product it is, you know, there could be a period of time, you know, like before they use, like you said, if you're selling paint, you know, typically if somebody gets it, you know, they're not going to finish painting, like you said, a whole room within a day or so. So you got to allow some time. Now, one quick question that I had that I thought about, and you can let me know what you think of this strategy, because I've seen other businesses utilize it. A lot of businesses are really aggressive these days to try to get as many reviews as possible and as early as possible, even though, you know, there's a time frame as to when the customer, you know, may get their product or utilize it. But what I've seen a lot of times is companies will ask customers to review the experience, the shopping experience on the site right after purchasing. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think that's something that's worth doing?
So I think that it is worth doing depending on your company size. That's a really good strategy for getting store reviews instead of getting like product reviews. So those are two kind of separate things, right? There's like, how did you experience our brand? And then the other one is, how did you experience the product? So there's still a lot of use in asking people for a review about their overall experience, in that if you know you have a good experience, you're going to get good reviews. And also it helps you iterate on your website and say, okay, oh, people really hate this, or like people really hate this drop-down menu, or they hate our product descriptions or something like that, or we're too slow to respond. Then that gives you like almost instant feedback on things to change. So I think that is useful, and it's useful in that, again, there's the difference between like store reviews and product reviews. So if you're looking for more store reviews, which are still very valuable, then that's worth having. Because even like reviews that you have on your website that have good schema markup, they get picked up by Google, and that's like almost 10% of your ranking factor. And it really helps with your click-through rate too. So if you have, the more reviews that you have, then that is better.
Yeah, very true. That makes sense. And I appreciate the differentiation of the site store review versus the product ones. So that makes sense. You know, it's two totally different things. Now, let's just say a business they've started this, they're either, you know, doing their own outreach via their own email list and asking for reviews. Maybe they're using a platform like Fera, or whatever platform they're using to collect these reviews, and they're going for a little while. But, you know, like anything, and like I mentioned, the value, I think, is really in the numbers of the reviews, because a lot of times that's what people, they focus in on. They focus on, of course, the positive reviews, but when they see a higher quantity review, that gets customers to be a little bit more comfortable. They can rest assured that they're like, wow, you know, 500 people reviewed it. You know, that seems pretty solid. So how does a business kick it up a notch and really kind of exponentially get a lot more reviews? Is there a particular method that they need to follow, you know, to generate, you know, more reviews, more testimonies, and more content that they can use on their site?
Yes. there is. But first, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to give your listeners some stats. So like adding product reviews definitely will increase your conversions by 3% or more. And one review can improve your conversion rate by 10%. So
Wow.
I don't want to discourage anybody who feels like they need more reviews, but then 100 reviews can improve conversion rates by 37% or more. So
Wow.
like you said, the more reviews, the better, but don't be discouraged if you only have a couple of reviews. But then I'll come back to your question about the methodology. So you can only really ask for more reviews if you have more sales, right? Like you have to fill the top of your funnel. So you have to really focus on getting the right customers to your store, converting them on your website, and then having an automation platform in place to send out those reviews. And then the other thing that you can do is if you have a good social media presence, then you can use the the user generated content that's on your Instagram, and then you can put that on your website too. And you can like, if somebody tags you in, like, let's say I'm wearing I'm actually wearing all buttercream, which is one of my favorite brands in Canada. So like if I tag buttercream in what I'm wearing, then they can turn around and say, oh, this is the XYZ sweater. And they can put that on their website. Of course, you want to ask your customers for permission, but that's another really good way to get user-generated content that is not particularly a review, but it's still an endorsement of your product. So telling people like tag us or use the hashtag like Alora Tribe or whatever in your Instagram or on your Facebook or like on Pinterest or something like that. And then that's a really good way of generating content on an ongoing basis that you can use in your campaigns. Like for example, in Facebook, if you're running campaigns, you can choose posts that are like in partnership with posts and then boost those posts. So that's another way to get a lot more like photo content, but you need sales to ask for reviews, honestly.
Yeah, that is very true. You got to have customers that have gotten their hands around your products or utilizing your services in order before you do anything. That's the bottom line. You got to get your sales.
Exactly. But there's also one thing that you can do, which I should mention, is that you can send people, like influencers in your niche, you can send them products. And you don't want to be like, oh, I'm sending you this product for a review, but you can send them the product. You can say, hey, let me know what you think about it. And then if they like, you can say, oh, well, would you like to leave me a review? So that's another way to generate reviews too, because they have actually used your product, but you don't want to send people things in exchange for product. Like one thing that I want to emphasize is that you never want to be shady about getting reviews or like unethical about it, because you want to make sure that you're building trust with your customers. And if you don't have trust, then you really don't have anything.
Yeah, gotcha. And I definitely understand what you're saying. And I've seen, unfortunately, there's a lot of companies that do try to go those routes where they're, kind of bribing their customers, so to speak, for the reviews and, incentivizing them. I mean, there's things that you can do, of course, to, encourage people to take the time to do the review. But outside of that, it really needs to be a totally unbiased review where people are doing it, just kind of on their own, volition, and, that aren't encouraged to, leave a 5-star review because of something. So I totally understand that. Now, like with really any marketing strategy, anything that you're doing these days, you have to be able to track it. What is it? Is it worthwhile be doing these things, before you move forward, before you kind of kick things up another notch?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that last little part?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was just saying, like any other marketing strategy, whatever you're doing, you need to be able to, measure it, to be able to track the success of it, to determine, where do you go with it? Do you need to pivot? Is it worthwhile that you do all of these things? So, how do you really measure the success of all of this, everything that you're doing with regards to this strategy?
Yeah. Okay. So one way to measure, success is, are you getting reviews? So that's the first one. You can say number of reviews. So actually you can start a little higher up. You can say, okay, what percentage of people are opening my email, right? Then you start with, okay, is my subject line crappy, right? So that's the first place. And then the next place is the response rate. So you say, okay, if I send 100 emails, are 5% of people responding. And if you notice that it's pretty steady, then that's good. I mean, 5%, honestly, even on Amazon, like around 5% of people will leave a review. So if 5% of people are leaving a review, then you're doing pretty good.
Okay.
And then the other thing is you want to know what is the star rating, what's the average star rating, right? So you can measure that. And that's something that, again, goes back to the customer experience and it goes back to the product. So you can say, am I delivering on what I promised, right? So that's another way to measure your review success. So are people responding? Are we getting good reviews? It's kind of the metrics that you really want to be looking at. Am I getting reviews and are they good reviews? And then you start to work backwards from there and say, oh, I'm getting a lot of 3-star reviews. People are saying like, the quality is not what I thought it was, or people are saying like the material is itchy or something like that. And then you work back and you say, okay, I'm going to start working on my material. Or they say the product's beautiful, but the packaging shitty, or it took like 30 days for it to get there. And then you start working on your shipping, and then you can start to see your reviews, your average review rating improve. So those are the things you want to look for. Yeah.
Gotcha. Great advice there. And I know, when we're thinking about obtaining all of these reviews, you mentioned, of course, there's a lot of platforms that you could use. There's, you guys, Fera, you have a platform that allow you to collect reviews. And I know a lot of the, I guess you could say kind of off the shelf e-commerce solutions, the Shopify's of the world, the BigCommerce, they all have their, kind of components or apps that you can tie into that. Regardless of the type of platform that you're using to collect these reviews, what are some, I guess you could say, best practices for the display of them? Because I think that could also be a question of like, where do you display these? How are they displayed? And what's the best way to present them to the customers?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a very good question. And I'm glad you asked that. So of course you want to make sure that your reviews are in a place that's helpful for your customers, first and foremost, right? So they have to be in a place where people are looking for them. So a lot of people will look for reviews on an all reviews page. They'll look for it on the product page. They'll be looking for it on the homepage, usually closer to the bottom. So displaying reviews where your customers are looking for them, not where you want them to be, but where your customers are looking for them. And then you want them to look as like beautiful as possible. So if you're looking for a reviews platform, make sure that they have really good themes that are going to fit your store, because you don't want, so one thing that helps to build trust on your store is like consistency. So if your store is beautiful and minimalist and then you have this like really ugly review block, then it's not going to be congruent and your customers are going to be like, oh, this is weird. So you want to make sure that things are consistent, or you want to make sure that you have the ability to customize the way that it looks. So that's one thing that you want to be looking for a reviews app. So again, most people are looking on the product page for a review. Most people are looking for like an all reviews page. So that's like kind of the place where you want to be able to display your reviews. And then there are other places that you can display testimonials. Like I've seen some customers display testimonials in their cart. So that will sometimes help improve their conversion rate. Again, it depends on your store and it depends on your customer. It also depends on what you're selling. But those are the 3 main places for you to display. And then again, make sure that it looks good. And make sure that you can also collect photo and video reviews. So if you're looking for a platform, make sure it has the ability for you to collect those 2 types of content and display them in a way that doesn't slow down your site.
Oh, gotcha. Good stuff there. Yeah, the video is a big thing now these days, of course. If you have a platform that's going to allow you to get the customers to capture their video reviews as well as the photos, that's really a big deal. I know with Amazon, I'm always on Amazon purchasing, any and everything, and I'm looking, and they always have a good mixture of the reviews. There's some people that have created, really detailed videos, which helps, and then a lot of people give really good pictures. So to be able to have a diverse assortment is really a good thing.
Exactly. I love looking at video reviews because like it's easier to see like what it looks like in real life. They turn it, you're like, oh, it looks like this. It's so much better, I think, than like text for sure. Definitely.
They're very helpful for sure. Now, Jameela, as we get ready to wrap things up, I wanted to see if there's any particular businesses that either you've dealt with or that we maybe all familiar with that have just done a great job with their product review strategy, and what are some specific things that they've done that stand out?
Okay, so I have one that's really big, and then I have just a small one that we work with, which
Okay.
I'm really proud of this second small one because I had a little conversation with her and she really did well. but one of the best, I think, brands that do really well with like product reviews and user generated photos is Fenty Beauty. So I don't know if you, yeah. So she, like, you go to her site and there'll be really good like tutorials, there'll be really good reviews, there'll be really good people on Instagram who are like, this is what it looks like on my skin. And like, it's just like, it's really, really good. I have no complaints. I have no complaints about that. And then obviously there are places like Amazon, which, like you mentioned before, which is honestly the reason that a lot of other people started doing reviews is because Amazon did such a really good job with implementing customer reviews and having verified reviews. And then the other small one that I wanted to talk about was, hold on, I'm gonna see if I can open it. One second.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a million tabs open. Okay.
No problem.
So there's this company, Rebecca Yates Stationery, and she signed up for our store or for our app not that long ago. And I was like, it looks like you have like a really good product here. She does planners. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen, if this will work. Just give me a second. Anyway, so she was like, I need to improve my conversion rate. I'm like, you have a great product. Obviously, people love you. You need to add some reviews to your store. And she did. And now she has like, hold on, I'm going to check in the back end. I had it all open, but then my tabs were just, hopefully you can cut this out.
Okay, no problem.
Let's see. Where did she go? Yeah, this is my problem for having too many of these silly tabs open. Nope. Where did she go? Sorry. I think I lost her in my tab.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, but anyway, so we encouraged her to get a lot more reviews, and now she has a lot of really great reviews for her planners. So it's something that even if you're a small brand, you can definitely utilize automatic campaigns to start getting reviews for your product and then displaying that on your website and improving your sales. So yeah, Fenty Beauty and Rebecca Yates London.
Okay, got you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I've seen a lot about Fenty Beauty, and that's for people that don't know, that's Rihanna's cosmetic line, and yeah, so she's really done well. At this point, I'm wondering if has she stepped away from music because she's been so, she's done so well with the fashion line, and then I know she has her clothing and lingerie as well. So it's it's a big deal. It's definitely a big deal.
It is a big deal. I love her stuff, and I just like love her vibe in general. So it's good.
Right. Yeah, good person to model. And I appreciate those examples. I definitely encourage people to check them out, see what they're doing as far as the user-generated content, the reviews, and you can definitely learn a lot from those brands as well. Well, Jameela, it has been awesome talking to you. I really appreciate you coming on to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. I definitely have learned a lot, and hopefully our listeners have as well, because this is really a very important marketing strategy these days for, I think, any e-commerce business, is the product reviews, because it is I think a big factor that holds a lot of weight, a lot more than it used to when people are making a buying decision. So very important that you come up with a solid strategy for getting those product reviews. But I always like to switch gears here with my last question, as my audience knows, just so we can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think our audience would be interested to know about yourself.
Okay. Well, Well, this one is, I think it's a fun fact because I feel like it changed my worldview. So when I was 15, I was a really bad kid and my mom shipped me off to Ghana in West Africa to go to high school. And I think it made me a better person. And I feel like I learned a lot about the world. So that's one fun fact.
Okay, gotcha. So, I take it you're originally from Ghana, or your family is, and you were living in Canada at the time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And at school, it was a bunch of like other expat kids that their parents shipped them away to shape them up.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm sure that was quite an experience.
It was good. I think I turned out pretty well.
Okay. That's I think you've done well for yourself for sure. So for any parents listening that are having issues with their kids, there's always send them away, go have them go through the school of hard knocks, learning how to cope outside of the house, and so on their own. So good stuff. And thank you for sharing that. But lastly, before we let you go, if any of our listeners want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about product reviews or any other digital marketing strategy, what will be the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can find me on LinkedIn, and it's my name, Jameela space Ghann. You'll be able to find me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message, and I will make sure that I respond to you. And then if anybody wants to do some reading on more product review strategies, how to respond to negative reviews, how to respond to positive reviews, they can head over to Fera.ai/blog. And there's lots of free information on there that they can just browse through.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. I definitely encourage all of our listeners to reach out to you on LinkedIn and also check out the Fera.ai site and blog for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Jameela, well, it was great having you. We definitely appreciate you joining us today on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode of the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know.